Yamaha dares to do something. When it came to retro motorcycles, manufacturers have so far taken up the style of the 1960s and 70s. But Yamaha is now extending the theme to the 1980s and 90s, putting the beautiful XSR 900 GP on wheels. We were already able to drive the nostalgic athlete. The first thing that stands out about the XSR 900 GP is the half-shell fairing with the tiny LED headlight and side-bolted wind deflectors, the latter a feature that first appeared on the factory 500 cubic centimeters GP Yamaha in 1983. The opposite is the case with the LED rear light. It is not noticeable at all. When the ignition is switched off, it doesn't seem to be there at all. When switched on, it is visible as a narrow line. Only when braking does it become apparent that the rest of the slanted rear light with dark tinted glass is actually quite large. Unmistakably 1980s style is the supposed racing hump, which in reality is only put over the pillion bench and is fixed by 2 screws. Also cleverly hidden are the filigree, black pillion footrests, which disappear folded under the bolted-on rear subframe. The fairing bracket, which sits between the surprisingly well-protective windshield and reaches to the steering head, seems to date from the same era. The highlight are the 2 cotter pins of the mount, which actually correspond exactly to those of the TZR 25315 from 1991 onwards. Rarely has a motorcycle been developed with such attention to detail as the XSR 900 GP. Some screws are delicately machined with tiny holes, and the side covers under the seat are fastened with quick-release fasteners. The bar-end rear-view mirrors not only look elegant, but also provide a very good view to the rear. Underneath the chic dress is the well-known and proven XSR 900 with the brilliant 890 cubic centimeters 3-cylinder engine, 420/24 in the Euro 5 Plus emissions standard. The Yamaha developers have reworked their latest creation for sporting use. Among other things, it received a longer swing arm and the front end was slightly raised. As a result, the wheelbase increased to 1,500 mm and the caster to 110 mm, which stabilized straight-line stability. In turn, the engine suspension points, which have been modified in favor of a more favorable center of gravity, increase agility. For the rider, of course, it is sportier than on the Yamaha MT-09. The XSR 900 GP got clip-on handlebars that are positioned 93 mm further forward and 114 mm lower than the handlebars of the XSR 900. The seating position moved 12 mm further forward, but also 27 mm higher, giving a seat height of 835 mm, and finally the foot pegs were moved 26 mm higher and the same distance to the rear. If necessary, the footrests can be moved down by a few millimeters. During the ride, the XSR 900 GP proves to be reasonably comfortable for a sports bike, even if the long tank forces me to bend my upper body forward considerably. A softer spring and a more progressive ratio of the lever joint increase comfort. The knee angle is suitable for people up to 1.90 m tall, and the seat cushion proves to be surprisingly comfortable. When it comes to operation, I take good note of the fact that Yamaha has said goodbye to its impractical dial at the right end of the handlebar and has installed a 5-way joystick plus return button on the left. For example, the menu in the 5-inch TFT display can be operated foolproof, especially since there is also a button on the right that can be easily reached with the thumb for switching the driving modes: rain, street, sport, and 2 custom modes. When the 3-cylinder engine is started, finely tuned intake noise is heard from the newly shaped air filter box in front of the tank. The volume of the XSR 900 GP rises to a maximum of 94 dB/A. Yamaha uses the same pot underneath the engine as on the MT-09 or XSR instead of a classically shaped rear muffler, unless you order the sports exhaust. The clutch can be operated with little effort, even if it is actually only used when stationary. Once in motion, a third-generation bidirectional quickshifter handles the smooth gear changes, even without pulling the adjustable clutch lever. The quickshifter can be used from 2000 RPM for upshifts and above 1600 RPM for downshifts and works excellently. The gears always engage precisely, not least because Yamaha has reworked the gears on gears 3 to 6. The XSR 900 GP is extremely easy to drive. It's more manageable than I would have expected with the long wheelbase, even if it doesn't come close to the agility of a YZF or 6. The 900 turns precisely, hits the line exactly, and doesn't mind correcting the course. The upside-down fork provides very accurate feedback from the front wheel. Above all, however, the Yamaha spoils you with an absolute calmness in an inclined position. Nothing can shake the mighty Delta box frame. The track we drive ranges from extremely tight corners with bumpy surfaces to full throttle corners with flat asphalt, and the XSR 900 GP cuts a fine figure everywhere. Its fully adjustable KYB chassis is a major contributor to this. On the rear shock absorber, the compression damping can even be varied in the high and low speed range. The preload can be changed at the rear using a practical handwheel. The new Bridgestone Batlax S23 is fitted as standard, but in the M version with only one instead of the 2 or 3 different rubber compounds that are also available. Nevertheless, the tire does its job perfectly. Only when we were on the Estoril circuit for photo purposes, I would have liked to have had the slightly more expensive variant of the S23 on the rims. Speaking of rims, those of the XSR 900 GP are 700 grams lighter, resulting in even better grip. Incidentally, they help to reduce the curb weight of the sport bike to 200 kilograms. The CP3 engine is still a poem. It still produces 119 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 93 Nm at 7,000 RPM. That's all it takes for a retro athlete, because after all, you don't want to set lap records on him. The engine builds up a lot of torque early on and revs up linearly to the red zone. Nevertheless, it doesn't cause it any problems to stroll through the city at 50 km per hour in 6th gear, and it is exemplary when pulling through. For me, Yamaha's 3-cylinder is one of the best powertrains on the market. The brakes are just as convincing. A 16mm Brembo radial master cylinder provides a precise pressure point on the adjustable handbrake lever. Nissan's 2 radial 4-piston calipers on the front will act on 298mm floating brake discs. There may be outrageously expensive brakes on superbikes that work even better, but for the vast majority of riders, the existing braking system should be more than adequate. If necessary, it decelerates violently with the rear wheel rising slightly. Additional safety is provided by extensive electronic assistance systems. The XSR 900 GP can be fine-tuned in 7 parameters: engine response in 4 stages, skid control, slide control, and lift control in 3 stages. The 2-stage quickshifter and the back slip regulator, which prevents the rear wheel from locking up when downshifting, can be turned off. In addition, the Yamaha has a switchable brake control that regulates the brake pressure of the cornering ABS. The very well-designed TFT display is compatible with the smartphone and allows for a wide range of uses. The map display displayed by the mobile phone is very practical for navigation. Nevertheless, the most important information such as speed, gear engaged, driving mode, fuel gauge, trip meter and time can still be read. When the map is not displayed, the driver can choose from 4 different displays, with the pointer tachometer by far my favorite.